Hey, it's Huck. And who the hell knew the whole world would be on the brink of implosion in just the few weeks since I last posted a video? Now again, I do want to apologize because I haven't been able to post any videos lately. In fact, I barely got this one out today. It's kind of hard now that I don't have an internet connection at home, or electricity for that matter, but that's another story. If any of you, care to help out old Huck again, well, you know the drill. You can contact me through my PayPal account, or, I do have my GoFundMe fund set up on that website. There's links at the bottom. But it has been especially hard for old news junkie Huck here to be away when there are so many crazy, strange, and evil events going on these days. I mean, talk about bizarre. There's this unarmed black teenager, Michael Brown, shot in broad daylight by a policeman in Ferguson, Missouri. And while shooting unarmed black teenagers is not exactly anything new for police, the fact that this particular police department reacted to the local outrage like something not seen since Selma, Alabama in the 60s, well, I got to admit, that got Huck here all riled up. I mean, where in the world these days, outside of a Texas or Arizona legislative session, can one witness the kind of sheer racist chutzpah as we've seen on a daily basis every time the Ferguson Police Department, and in particular their police chief, trots out to give another one of his brief news conferences? This guy, in cahoots apparently with the St. Louis County Police Department, proceeded to give us all a shining example of what a local police force does with millions of dollars of unnecessary military hardware. It's amazing to me that it took this kind of police stupidity to begin the call for demilitarizing our police departments. Now, if we can just demilitarize the bozo Tea Party assholes enacting legislation allowing stand your ground laws and letting any inbred clown with an assault rifle to show up at your local McDonald's. But that's another story too. The fact is, most of all of this craziness going on in Ferguson could have been avoided from the get-go, and could be avoided even now, today, if authorities there would have done what they should have done all along. And that is, place the officer involved in the shooting of Michael Brown under arrest and charge him with a crime. And then there's this whole horror going on in Iraq with ISIS or ISIL or whoever the hell they claim to be this week. Now, as I post this today, there are reports that this fanatical group has massacred some 700 or 800 folks in recent days as they scour the Iraqi countryside, exterminating anyone who apparently doesn't pray to the exact same bloodlust God they do. Now, I must say, as a general rule, I tend to take these reports with a grain of salt, because this is usually how we get sucked into these conflicts. Paint the evil bastards as Satan incarnate. Exaggerate the fuck out of the situation, because every politician knows the American public is a sucker for coming to the rescue. George H.W. Bush did it when he first convinced us to drive Saddam Hussein out of Kuwait in the first Gulf War. Days before we came to the rescue there were reports, even a hastily written paperback book, as I recall, detailing the rapes and torture and executions that were being carried out by the Iraqi forces on the Kuwaiti population. Afterwards, of course, it was revealed that these reports were largely fabricated. But Bush and the mighty military complex he commanded required something the public could rally behind. And I guess they figured putting the royal Kuwaiti family back in charge of a few oil fields that accounted for a very small percentage of our imported energy supply. It just wouldn't quite do the trick. And as proof that the nut doesn't fall too far from the tree, George H.W. Bush's son, George W. Bush, went way out of his way to cherry pick and even fabricate intelligence purporting that this same Saddam Hussein was developing nuclear weapons and collaborating with Al-Qaeda to spur us into the Second Gulf War. Oh, there were plenty of reports of how Hussein and his sons were raping, torturing, and executing their own people, which apparently was true. But Bush apparently believed the words Al-Qaeda and nuclear, a word he never could pronounce, were the keys to getting us involved. And of course it worked. So frankly, I don't know what to believe about this ISIS group. Let's just say I'm kind of glad that Obama is running the show and not another Bush, or for that matter, Hillary Clinton. On foreign intervention issues, Hillary Clinton has a lot in common with Lindsey Graham and John McCain, which is to say each of them would have us at war in Libya, Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, Yemen, Central Africa, Ukraine, and probably Venezuela, if they could just fit it in a speech or two. And then there's the news of the passing of Robin Williams. Now this one touched home in a way that is painful for me to describe. Robin Williams suffered, apparently, from depression. And, well, so did my mom. Now, my mom passed away just 1 year ago last week, and I really had hoped to post, finally, a video about my mom in remembrance of her last week. But as I tried to put something together for you, I found it was, well, still too painful for me to finish the project. Maybe next year. What I can tell you is that Mom suffered a difficult marriage and a never-ending series of very serious health issues, including 3 bouts with cancer, all of which, took their toll on her, physically and mentally. At least 4 times, my mother attempted to take her own life. And thanks to friends and family, we were able to save her each time from herself. The final time, a few years before she ultimately passed away, she promised me she would never do it again. Watching her die of lung cancer last year, suffering as she did, I can't help but sometimes wonder whether we did the right thing after all. And while I know in my heart that we did, it's still painful to reflect on all she went through and how strong she was, right to the last. I wish I was that strong. People who believe that suicide is somehow a selfish act really don't understand the illness. My mother loved her friends and, well, especially her family, more than life itself. And in her depressed state, suicide was a way of lifting a burden from those she loved, not a way of hurting them. She was wrong, of course, but a deep, depressed state of mind convinces you of 2 things: that the pain will go away, and that others will be happier without you to burden them. Knowing this is how it works, the last 6 years of my mom's life I stayed in constant contact with her. Not just with her here at home all day, but calling her and checking on her day and night, every few hours, whenever work or other tasks took me from her side. I sincerely hope Robin Williams' death is the catalyst for a long overdue reassessment of how we fund and deal with mental health in the United States. I love you, Mom. I'm Huck. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again, well, as soon as I can.